So this is GCSE Higher. The topic is functions. For all values of x, f of x is given to us as x plus 1 squared, and g of x is given to us as 2 into x minus 1. The question is asking us to show that g of f of x is equals to 2x into x plus 2. So this is composite function. Now, composite function, what you do is you start off with the outer function. So the furthest letter away from x, whatever your brackets is, you start off with that. So you have g as the furthest function away from x. So you start off with g of f of x. You always start off with whatever is the furthest one. Okay, I always tell my students that this is like the big function, the big guy, that you start off with that first. So you start with 2, open bracket. Now wherever x is on that function, the outer function that you start off with, you put a bracket there. Okay, you don't put x, you put a bracket. So you open a bracket, open a big enough bracket so that, whatever you need to plug it in here, there is space for that. So bracket minus 1, close bracket. So now what goes in the bracket? Instead of x, we put a bracket there. That's the little guy over here, the small function, okay? So we started with the big function, and then we plug the big function in here. Instead of x, we put a bracket, and then we see, okay, what do we need to plug it into the bracket is the little function. So the guy that needs to go in here is the little function. So what we do there is we put x plus 1, and this bracket is squared here. Okay, if you look at that, x plus 1 is squared, so we put a squared there. So whatever it is, we copy it down. Then the next step, what we need to do is, we've got to expand this bracket. So 2x plus 1 whole thing squared is pretty much what it is x plus 1 into x plus 1. That's what this is. So you can expand the double bracket, which would give us x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay, that's the bracket. What we have to do then, now we need to collect the like term. So we need this expression out of the bracket. So that's why I've written here without the small brackets. And then we have a minus 1. Okay, so plus 1 minus 1, that cancels out. So you don't have that term. What do you have now is 2x squared plus 2x. Now, if they haven't said us anything, just find g of f of x, I would leave it like that. I'll leave it at that point and then move on. Here they've asked us to show that it's equals to this. So what we have and what they have is we just need an x out of the bracket. We have a 2 here, but they need 2x. So you just need to factorize an x out. X is common for both of them. So we can take an x out of that. So that's going to leave us with x plus 2, which is exactly what they have. Okay, that's part A of the problem. Part B is asking us, find g inverse of 7. Now, g inverse of 7 is the inverse function of g of x. In order to find the inverse function, what you need to do is you have to let g of x be y is equals to 2 bracket x minus 1. So you let g of x equals to y. It's just easier for us to solve it if it's equals to y rather than g of x. Okay, you make x the subject from here. So you start off with that and you need to make x the subject from here. So rearrange everything and make x the subject. So the first thing you need to get rid of is what's outside the bracket. It's multiplying. So you do the opposite. So it's y over 2 is equals to x minus 1. And then the next thing we're going to do is we need to get rid of the 1. So do the opposite. So it's y over 2 plus 1. That's equals to x, which means the inverse function is g inverse of x is equals to, we gave it a notation of y, we need to replace it back. So your final answer should not have a y in it. It should be x over 2 plus 1. And then they've asked us to plug 7 in there. Okay, so the last part of the problem is, can you substitute 7 in and find an answer for that? So if you plug 7 in here, so g inverse of 7 is 7 over 2 plus 1. 7 over 2 is 3.5 plus 1. It's going to give us 4.5. So that's composite function, and this is inverse function. Thank you for watching.